anybody out there, it was a joke.
A lot of movement in the NFL going to happen at the quarterback position. You've got three absolute stud, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, guys that still look like they want to play. Their future is up in the air, and some are different than others.
They should sign with the same team and battle it out, see who the best one is.
That'd be fun. If I had to guess, Tom Brady goes back to New England, Drew goes back to New Orleans, Phillip, and reports are San Diego. Oof. LA's moved on, and they're not doing that anymore. He's moved from San Diego, where he never moved from, back to his home in Florida.
I heard the Raiders are poised to make a run at Tom Brady.
But what does that mean? If you're Tom Brady, and the Raiders played over their heads a little bit this year, they had a better record than anybody would have guessed before the season. At this point in your career, why would you go to Las Vegas? Just to do something different, to go,
Probably $40 million with no state tax.
Tom Brady's, but to that point, Tom Brady has never been a guy that's chased money. Not one time in his career.
Don't you think he's due?
He is due, but he's shown you that he's never done that before.
I know.
So if any of these guys left and went somewhere else and either played or didn't play, retired, whatever it might be, you would have to think it would have to be for a championship contender, not just to get another year of service. Like if I'm one of these guys, why would I go play for the Miami Dolphins, whose roster is awful, just to hold the starting position for Tua Tagovailoa for a year?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I'm just trying to figure out how to argue with you, just for the point of arguing. It would surprise me if Drew or Tom played for somebody other than their teams. I have no idea about this whole Phillip Rivers situation. He's a borderline Hall of Fame guy. Might make it, might not. Wouldn't be surprised either way. What about? I know you feel different. You're
I'm good.
You're grinding your teeth over there. Yeah. But at this point, do people make a serious run at him? I mean, does he think he could go out and get $40 million or $35 million or whatever it is for a year and play it? I don't know. Would someone be willing to pay that for him?
Again, his isn't going to be about the salary. I think his will be more about he obviously wants to win a championship. That's going to be the knock on him.
I understand that. But with somebody who has a championship contending team, do they feel like Phillip would be an upgrade?
Look at the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
That's a team that got to the AFC Championship game.
They had a Pro Bowl quarterback this year.
Will they sign? But will they sign? They traded for Ryan Tannehill. He'll be a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Will they sign him back? Will you trust? My question is, do you trust that Ryan Tannehill, a guy that has had some ebbs and flows, to say the least, in his career, can be the guy? Now, you had Derrick Henry. You had a good defense. You had weapons around him. So if I'm Tennessee and I see, okay, I can go get a Phillip Rivers for a year or two, would I rather have Ryan Tannehill?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, it's what you judge Phillip on. It's what you think he can do now. He didn't play real well this past year. Played pretty bad. They had some really bad games where he himself lost games this past year. Now, that's not Phillip Rivers' career. That's just this past year. So it's what do you think you're going to get out of him this current year? He's the one that's on that bubble for me. It's I wouldn't be surprised if someone made a move, like Tennessee made a move and went and signed him. I didn't watch enough of him this year. The only games I watched Phillip Rivers play this year were the bad ones. I know he probably had some good ones in there, throw a few touchdown passes, but I did see Ryan Tannehill do some good things this year. But now, if you're just playing the name game, of course you're going to go Phillip Rivers. But there's a lot more that goes into that because you're on the cusp of being great. It's kind of like the Jaguars a couple of years ago. The move is important. They went out and got a Nick Foles, didn't pan out. They had someone else younger that played better. Nick Foles it's to me, the Titans are very, very similar to what the Jacksonville Jaguars were. So they have to make the right moves. Do you go out and spend a lot of money to bring in a Phillip Rivers where you think he's probably going to be good? You're just signing a name at that point. Or do you go get some other strategic free agents, maybe some wide receivers, to make a Ryan Tannehill or make a rookie quarterback look a lot better?
That's actually really, really good answer from you. I'm actually taken back. Because the Jaguars, played good defense. Fournette was running at a really high pace at the time, just, like Derrick Henry.
Yep.
They had Blake Bortles, who did just enough.
I will say Tannehill's a lot better than Bortles. This past year, at least. Played a lot better than Bortles.
I'll agree with that. There's just so much quarterback movement that feels like it's about to happen here in in the NFL. Between
Yeah.
the three guys
It's
that
gonna
we
be
talked
exciting.
about, the draft has got all these quarterbacks and Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa and Herbert, all these, and Jordan Love. Looks like we're going to have 4 first-round quarterbacks that are going to be in different spots. And also Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott in Dallas. You know, what do you do with him? And there's been news that the Cowboys said, hey, we're about to be aggressive, and things are about to really start to heat up with Dak Prescott in the contract negotiations. Does Dallas throw the world at Dak Prescott? Do they believe that Dak Prescott is their future and can be the guy that leads them to the promised land?
I think the rumors are that they're going to.
It's been 2 years they've been talking about this contract.
Yeah. And does that tell you anything? Tells you a lot.
That's my question.
So it would be very smart of them, in my opinion. It'd be expensive, but not as expensive as it is to sign him, to franchise tag him and let him play 1 year under Mike McCarthy. Because I think the hope is that Mike McCarthy and his history with quarterback schools and footwork and being around a great quarterback in the system is going to make Dak improve and be a more consistent player. Dak looks really great sometimes, but then he looks really bad sometimes. To me, year in, year out, watching Dak, his mechanics look a little bit different. Like he's to me, he reaches a little bit. He overthinks his throwing mechanics sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes he overthinks his throwing mechanics, and it gets him in a little bit of trouble. So with Mike McCarthy and his history with quarterbacks, is that gonna fix the problem and make Dak? I can see it. I think Dak Prescott has a really good foundation, and the Mike McCarthy deal is a really good fit for the Cowboys.
You've obviously been with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was the head coach when you were in Green Bay. Is he a guy that can help elevate the quarterback position? Is he a guy that works kind of day in, day out with quarterbacks? Kind of what's his background as far as what you learned from him?
It's hard to work day in, day out with the quarterbacks as a head coach. It just is. That's why being a play calling head coach is always challenging. It can be done. But
when you are the play calling head coach, though, you typically do work with the quarterbacks. I know Norv did in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was in there with Phillip going over the game plan with the other quarterbacks because he was the head coach and the play caller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was quite a bit of that, but a lot of it was our quarterback coach as well. But the quarterback coach also spends a lot of time with Mike, and they're all preaching the same thing. It wasn't like everyone's following the same rules, the same thing applies. So everybody's coaching the same thing, whether it was coming straight from McCarthy's mouth or coming from the quarterback or whatever it was. I'm not going to sit here and say that McCarthy was out there demonstrating footwork to me, but we got to watch film like through the quarterback school. It teaches you that footwork. It teaches you how to play with it. And I learned from watching Aaron. Aaron learned from watching Brett. And Brett, it's so you get to go, and we got to watch film of Joe Montana work out and all these quarterbacks that have been coached. With McCarthy has been kind of been part of and been with. You got to go back and watch all this stuff. You learn visually in football, and then you apply what you saw visually. You apply it physically. So, but I think just the offense, the timing of it, the way he just the offensive structure is going to do a lot, because it's not a real rigid offense where it's like 3-step, throw it here, and if you don't have it, take reset 2 more steps. You get to if you stepped up 2 times, throw it away or run. Like, that's not it. It's a lot on the quarterback. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of moving parts, and you're able to use the athletic ability. You're able to kind of have more of a casual, footwork, and it's just it's a very quarterback friendly offense. I'll say that. It's not real rigid. I was in some offenses where 7-step drop. Your first hitch is to the X, second hitch to the Y. On your third hitch, you're to the back, throw it away or run.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're sitting there and you're thinking about
robotic a little
bit. My hitch. Yeah. It's a very kind of a robotic, very structured type offense. This is not that. And when I see Dak get in trouble, it's when he is looking rigid and looking a little bit stiff and in his head thinking
We know he
about
cares
the
about
rules.
his hips and the movement.
His hips.
We definitely know that.
Yes, he does. Big time. Big time hip dancer. Flip those hips.
He loved the Super Bowl halftime show. Before we do take a break, I want to ask you about the Saints situation. Teddy Bridgewater looks like he'll be moving on. Seems like he's the odd man out of the trio there. Taysom Hill, very intriguing.
Wait, say this guy. I hadn't heard this. He's the odd man out.
Well, he's not officially, but
Put him number 3 in the depth chart.
If you read what's been said out there, if Drew does come back, but with Taysom Hill, a lot of people don't think he can be an every down quarterback. Everyone loves him in his current role, and if he has that current role, you do have to go. And Drew comes back, you do have to have somebody in place that can play quarterback if something happens to Drew, because you don't want your second quarterback out there lead blocking on an ISO or a power like Taysom Hill does. It's not smart football. So his role is outstanding, and I love watching Taysom Hill play.
Why would you change his role? I wouldn't. I would never change his role. I don't.
And with Drew coming out and being open, he's saying, look, if it helps win games and I'm in New Orleans, Taysom can come in for 15 plays. I do think there's an opportunity for him to come in and play more quarterback. I think he is the ultimate, hey, we got this guy that's almost like a cheat code. Mm-hmm. Let's play him in spots. You don't ever have to specialize with him being a quarterback. But I think you do have to go get a number 2 because of the risk of injury. And he's a guy that has a long list of injuries in his past. At BYU, he missed he missed 2 full seasons almost. Mm-hmm. So you do have to have somebody in place to almost.
What you didn't ask me, you should have asked me if I thought he could be an every down quarterback. And from what I've seen, I would say no. Like a day in, day out, week in, week out starter in the NFL. I'm going to say no.
But I don't think he has to be.
That's what exactly. But you're trying to tell me that Bridgewater is the odd man out.
I just think because of finances that you're throwing at these.
Sure.
Because Taysom Hill is a restricted free agent. He's about to get an upgrade. Yep. He's about to get a little pay bump.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He should.
He should. He should get paid well. He should get – what did we say? I think we said he should get paid can't remember what we said.
It's going to be tough.
Like running back plus money, something like that.
I think so. I think he should be he's not going to get quarterback money. He's not going to get number 1 receiver money. It's going to be a little bit different of a contract. There's no question about that. Mm-hmm. But you do have to go out and you have to get what they've had in the past. One of the McCown brothers. They had Luke McCown, Chase Daniel. I do think you have to have that type of quarterback.
I just don't see him like moving on from the Saints because he wants to be an every down quarterback.
I don't either. I think
he's in the perfect place right now. He should, and maybe he is, and maybe we're just lighting the fire for him to go out there. Maybe he'll be an all-pro quarterback. I don't know. I just hadn't seen it. Got a great completion percentage. It's fantastic. But I think the role, it makes them so hard to defend and hard to coach against, Taysom Hill element. So you pay him well to stay there and do what he's doing for as long as he can.
Yeah. You can't do it forever. You can't, the way that he plays, you can't do it forever. You can't go out there and block on power, block a punt, catch a touchdown, and throw another one. I understand that. It's a short shelf life.
Yeah,
but
go
if
do
you can
that.
get 5 years out of that.
Go do that until you're 30, then go try to be a every down quarterback. You can do that for another 5.
All right, we'll take a break.
15.
We'll be back here hanging with Lester, presented by Richard Honda.